Yuki Tabata has done it again. Not only did he give us an incredibly heartfelt reunion between one set of long-lost siblings in the last chapter, tying a nice bow on their almost 17-year-old family drama and opening the door for a much healthier relationship between the two going forward, but he also completely flips things on us in the next two chapters, delivering a brutally bitter struggle between the Faust twins, leading to one of the most tragic endings we've seen yet. But before we get into that, we have to talk about the hypest moment of these two chapters. Ever since the introduction of Devil Union, there has been one thing that I have been desperately waiting to see, and Tabata has finally given us what we, or at the very least I, have been asking for since chapter 270. The reveal of Nacht's Devil Union combining all of his devils into one brand new form. It's beautiful. It's better than I could have imagined. All of Nacht's Devil Union forms have honestly been some of Tabata's best works in terms of design, right up there with the designs for Supreme Rank Devils. My personal favorite is the Canis Cross Felis mode. Following that, it's probably the Gallus Cross Felis Cross Callus, which by the way was also newly introduced in chapter 375 and is the first time we've seen a 3-devil combo. And this was one of those moments where I had to go back and double check previous chapters because I could have sworn that we've seen this combo before. I thought that during the battle against Lucifero, Nacht at some point had pulled out this transformation, specifically when he was teaming up with Yami to use Kid's Playground. But no, that was Canis Cross Felis, meaning that this was the first time we've ever seen a devil union with 3 of Nacht's devils. Which is crazy considering how quickly it's thrown away in this chapter. I feel like it didn't get the time it really needed to stand out, and that despite its cool appearance, and the fact that even if only briefly, it was able to hold off both Morgan and Lucius, the only thing people are going to remember from this battle is the 4-devil Devil Union. That totally feels like a waste of such a cool form, and I think it would have been better served if we had seen it used in an earlier chapter. For example, even though they were meant to lose that battle no matter what, I feel like the fight against Damnatio would have been the perfect opportunity to premiere this brand new transformation. You know, to showcase that over the time skip, Nacht has improved somewhat, especially now that he became closer to his devils, treating them much more like partners after being influenced by Asta. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. We got it here, it was short-lived, but it was cool as hell. And so was Gallus, Cross Felis, Cross Canis, Cross Equus, which going forward, to make it easier on myself, I'm just going to call it Nacht's True Devil Union. In this form, we see Nacht cover himself in a robe of shadow magic, gain 8 horns, 2 for each of his devils, and is surrounded by 4 giant shields that not only defend him, but also act as his main weapons, being able to transform into giant swords and possibly other giant weapons. Which, keep that in mind because that becomes very important at the end of this battle. Anyway, I feel like we spent enough time going over the forms and should actually get into the events of the chapters. So, going into 375, we go back in time a bit prior to when Lucius broke free from Nacht's Zone, Dark Prison Hunting Ground, and went off to attack the Yami siblings. And we see the Black Bull's vice captain bravely dive headfirst into battle against the 2 true humans. Want to point out that the second Nacht sees Morgen, he immediately clocks that the devil whose power he's been given is Lucifugus, the same devil that Nacht tried to form a contract with that resulted in the deaths of his entire family. Immediately, the guilt of what happened sinks in, and Nacht thinks it's given him the motivation he needs to use all his might to take down Morgen so that he can let his brother's soul once again rest in peace. And at first glance, it looks like that's exactly what he plans to do. Nacht does go blow for blow with both Morgen and Lucius, impressively taking very little damage in their exchanges, although he's also not doing much damage himself. But I mean, that does make sense. He is up against 2 people who easily outscaled the Lucifero he fought just about a year ago, and that's with them being heavily nerfed. Not to mention, it's pretty obvious that at the very least, Morgen is holding back, because as of right now, he's only using light magic. But here's the thing, Morgen points out that Nacht is also subconsciously pulling his punches. Sure, he's doing his job deflecting all their attacks, but he's not really putting all his power into hurting them either. Or at least not Morgen. With Lucius, it's kinda hard to say. I mean, I doubt he's intentionally holding back against him. He doesn't have a strong connection to Julius, so there's no real guilt there, but he might be so distracted by Morgen that he can't put all his strength into fighting even him. That's probably why Lucius was able to escape so quickly. Morgen pointing out Nacht's emotional distress distracted him long enough for the fake Wizard King to swoop on by. That's probably why Lucius was able to escape so quickly. Morgen pointing out Nacht's emotional distress distracted him long enough for the fake Wizard King to just swoop on by. I guess that's why Tabata decided to start the battle with the 3-devil combo, since it's also a new form and it's premiered in the very same panel that Nacht declares he's willing to give his life in order to stop Morgen. We're supposed to think that this is really him giving his all to get this done. But once he realizes that he can't, Morgan's able to easily overpower him, knocking him out of his Devil Union and canceling out his Zone. And this is where I realized that we were going in a completely different direction than we did with Yami and Ichika. Watching Nacht tearfully fall from the sky, realizing that he can't bring himself to kill his brother again, while Morgan happily shoots a beam of light right at him, planning to end his brother here and now, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Almost as much as watching Sister Lily kill Asta back in 335 and seeing the reaction from Noelle, Mimosa, and Nero when it happened. Now, it is worth noting that while becoming a paladin has twisted Morgan into becoming completely loyal to Lucius, it doesn't just automatically turn him evil. He's not smiling when he shoots at Nacht because of revenge or because he likes the idea of taking out his own brother, but because he truly believes that even if Nacht dies, once Lucius wins and becomes the ruler of all magic, that he'll revive Nacht as a fellow true human. He's freeing him from the pain he's feeling and helping him be reborn as something better. And at this point in the chapter, Nacht might actually welcome that. Luckily for him, Yami was there just in time to deflect the light beam just before it landed, and to knock some much needed sense into his vice captain. Yami was even nice enough to give him some time to get his head clear while he takes on Morgen one-on-one, which leads us right into chapter 376. Morgen versus Yami kicks off, and with his new devil-like transformation, Yami is actually pretty evenly matched with Morgen in terms of power. The problem is, now that Morgen has dark magic, it's almost impossible for Yami to land a hit, due to dark magic's innate ability to drag in and absorb magic, something that Yami is very used to using as part of his arsenal, but due to dark magic being extremely rare and him and Ichika being two of the only people in the world that have it, he's not used to having to fight against it. Combine that with Morgan's natural light magic, and it takes everything Yami has just to defend himself, as Morgan's attacks keep getting stronger and faster, until eventually he's just about to land the killing blow on Yami. Lucky for him, copying what Yami did for Nacht, Ichika jumps in just in time to save her brother using her Black Star Yojutsu to deflect the attack. And she even gave Nacht a pep talk just like Yami did before jumping in, basically telling him to be like her brother and to get his shit together. But what Ichika lacks in interpersonal skills, she makes up for in being a total badass. And now that she's on the field, their combo spell Black Heavens is the perfect counter to Morgan's attacks, but they still can't land a clean hit on the paladin, so things have essentially gone back to square one. That is until Nacht steps in, accepting the fact that he has to be the one to kill his brother, and that he will have to carry that sin for the rest of his life, which to him is better than the alternative of letting becoming a paladin tarnish Morgan's memory. Quick side note, unlike his other double union forms, we don't see any unique spells or abilities with this one, which makes me think that the 4 shields that he uses are meant to be that, since he can shift on back and forth between shield and sword. Also, in case you were confused by the combo spell that Dree used against Morgan, it's basically just a larger scaled version of Black Heaven, with a giant black moon in the center, Nacht shadow hands surrounding it, and Ichika's smaller stars encompassing the entire sky. It's honestly pretty easy to miss in that double page spread with all the attacks going on around it. I didn't even notice the whole thing myself until my 3rd reading of the chapter. And speaking of confusing, at first, I wasn't exactly sure what happened at the end here. Because just as it seemed like Morgan was gearing up to land a big blow on his twin, Nacht suddenly appeared behind him, stabbing him with a giant sword. At first, I thought Nacht just speedbuzzed his way behind Morgan and hit him before he could react, but then I noticed a black pool underneath him and realized that he must have teleported his way over to him. Either way, Nacht seemingly did it. He most likely kills his brother right here, especially since he likely still has Asta's anti-magic infused with his magic. I saw a lot of people online saying that he doesn't use it in this fight, which for the most part, they are right. Nacht's not going around slinging anti-magic shadow attacks at his opponents, but he does use it right here to keep Nacht's paladin regeneration from kicking in and healing him. It's hard to say for sure due to shadow and dark magic being all black like anti-magic, so we can't say for certain that his sword's coded in it at the end here. We also can't say for sure if this is actually the end of the battle. We'll have to wait for the next batch of chapters to hopefully pick up right here and let us know one way or the other. That's probably my only real issue with this batch of chapters, all of this emotional buildup only for the finale to sort of feel underwhelming and incomplete. Honestly, all we really needed in this final moment were some parting words from Morgan to Nacht, whether it be out loud or through inner monologue, but seeing as Tabata is seemingly taking his time to tie up every loose end he can in this arc, I have no doubt that we'll see a proper conclusion between Nacht and Morgan in the very next chapter.